Hey everybody, BDO44 coming at you with another video. I accidentally answered a call when I meant to ignore it and it cut off the video. But where I was at was essentially talking about Kyrie Irving's situation in regards to him being a free agent. Of course, wishing him a happy birthday, and then from there continuing the conversation. So thank you guys for putting up with me accidentally clicking off the video. This is part 2 of the same convo. All right, so what I was essentially saying is Kyrie Irving and his whole situation is essentially in regards to the path to him going to the LA Lakers specifically, to me seems to be opening up if Austin Reeves and D'Angelo Russell both end up elsewhere somehow. If they find bigger bags elsewhere and both don't sign with the Lakers, then I see the Lakers turning their attention to trying to bring Kyrie Irving to the Lakers. But if for some reason they keep both of them or one of them doesn't leave, I don't think they'll have the money to pay Kyrie Irving nor the role to make it make sense. So that's what I'm looking at. That's exactly what I'm looking at. The thing about it is, what I understand is, as good as Austin Reeves is playing right now, I don't know if he's going to be able to hold down the fort if he doesn't have some of these other star level players around him to make his role as prominent as it is right now. You would have his role be more prominent, rather, but it would definitely be an adjustment for him that we would have to be poised to go either way. You know, we've watched players be paid early at a maximum amount, and when they have still a lot of development to carry forward, you put too much on their shoulders and it doesn't necessarily go right, maybe injuries and things of that nature. So that's really what I'm thinking about. I know Austin Reeves is an extremely smart and productive basketball player, so I'm not worried about what it is I think he can do in a big role, but more so whether or not we can build a champion around him just like everybody else at a price that's bigger than $50 million in the event that D'Lo leaves. So that's a situation I'm thinking about. I would still want Kyrie, but I would not want Kyrie at 36 or 40 or whatever it is that people think he's worth at this point in the market. So that's when it becomes tricky for me in trying to build a Laker team. You know, for me, when I wanted Kyrie on this team, I was trying to reimagine the guard position, but I didn't have D'Lo coming in. I didn't know that I would have to choose between the two of them. And that's a bit tricky when you're considering D'Lo's height and age, as we've already talked about once before. So, and the price tag that could potentially be the difference between the two of them, which I actually don't think is that much different, but the consensus believes is very different. So if Kyrie's going for 40 and say D'Lo goes for 22 or something like that, needless to say, that's an easy choice and decision to make. But if they're both going for 22, it's not as easy. And so for me, it's like, all right, well, you know, what are we looking at here? What is the actual situation? And I think these playoffs may actually tell us that. You know, I think these next 9 games for both teams and how those guys, teams round into form without their best players will tell the story. Because they're both, well, I think Luka came back now. Yeah, Luka's back, so that's over with there. But as far as us, of course, Bron won't be back for another 7 games. So, you know, we'll see how Austin and D'Lo play. And I think that will add or subtract from their hype going forward in free agency, which will ultimately determine what type of path Kyrie would have to this particular market, this team anyway. So that's what I'm looking at. But look, as I said, this team anyway, that means that there's another team down the hall that things are open up for them. I'm going to tell you right now, I was the guy who said that Paul George is facing Father Time. I don't know if I was right about that. I hope I wasn't. But now he's facing a different type of thing. Now he's facing that hyperextended knee injury that he suffered a few days ago. Prayers up to PG. You hate to see that. But this opens up the situation where you have to ask if that core is the core to go forward with going forward once again. Because with the Clippers, I really think they have every reason to shave salary and reset. They have every reason to. Kawhi's back playing at a high level. He's playing like Kawhi Leonard, which is something that I look at and I say, is this sustainable or should I sell high? And the answer most definitely is sell high, given his history. Said the same thing about AD, but with Kawhi it's even more so because they haven't had any success, and there's much more to add to what they need in order to make them successful, in my opinion, if they're going to continue to have injury issues and if this is going to be a problem going forward with this 2-man tandem. So if I'm Ballmer, I don't know how I feel about going forward with the new building coming maybe, 2 years from now or something like that. Will that core still be upright, or would I not be in a better position if I do something different with that money? leading up to that situation. Because I know he's going to want to have a high-profile team in place when it's time to cut the tape on that building. So for me, it's like if you don't have a core in place that you believe can be really, really, really elite by that day, maybe if you start resetting now, you will. And that's kind of where I'm at with it. Because that's really what it's about, football, man. You just want to have the best possible team to have go into that building. You know, that building looks like it's going to be the most spectacular one in the league, easily. And so, you know, you just want something big to have happen right there with the roster. And Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi is, at this level, of course, is a superstar. Paul George, before he got hurt, he was playing great. So it's not like you don't believe in those guys to really be, you know, do a lot of damage. But for me, it's just like, is there not a better way to build? That's what I said to the Clippers. Is there not a better way to build? You all know I'm not a Clipper fan, but if I was just hired by the Clippers to fix their situation, I would believe that this is the time to sell high on Kawhi Leonard and try to receive as much equity as you can for him, or maybe even a star talented player in his stead that's much younger than him if possible. A Jaylen Brown type, like I would want Jaylen Brown. I don't know if I'd trade Kawhi Leonard straight up for Jaylen Brown. I don't know about I have to think about that strongly about how that makes sense. But that's the type of thing I want to do if I'm LA. That's the type of thing I want to do. Because at the end of the day, you got to get more sturdy pieces. You got to get a little younger. You got to have some concise direction as to what you're doing with your team, because it's core that you've been running back and forth with. You can barely keep them on the floor. It's the same problem the LA Lakers have. You can barely keep your team on the floor. And with Paul George, yet again with another leg injury, listen, they gave up a lot to get him. I don't think he's been too disappointing at all. I'm not going to sit here and say that they, you know, my expectations is to win the championship with my side of the team, my side of things. But if I were a Clipper fan, I think they've had pretty good seasons, really good seasons. But how many of those have had your core intact? You think about the glory year, which was 2 years ago when they got to the Western Conference Finals. Did they really get there on the back of Kawhi Leonard and Paul George? Or did they get there without them being available? And so for me, it's like, well, it's the latter. So if you just understand that you already have a good way of getting players, you scout well, basically you guys have done a good job, why not just try to build through the draft? Try to put yourself in a position to have a Scoot Henderson or Wembanyama to start the process of bringing them into the Intuit Center with a brand new look. Because this Paul George, Kawhi Leonard thing is obviously, 4 or 5 years in. They're not getting any younger or healthier. Your team's not necessarily built better than it was the first half of the season before you made some trades that I don't think made you anything but older. And so now it's like, okay, you're older but not good enough. The second best player is now hurt. The first best player is playing well, but for how long? And the rest of the team, it's okay, but you can definitely upgrade in like most of your positions. So you got rid of Reggie Jackson. You got rid of Luke Kennard. You got, it's like it's a lot of things that Clippers did. They're bringing in old Eric Gordon. It's like, nah, that's backwards. That's really backwards, you guys. So, for me, I don't know what's going on in Clipperland. As a Laker fan, I'm definitely happy about it. But if I were to, like I said, just get a job with the team, the first order of business is finding a way to get the highest possible pick in that draft coming up. And if Paul George or Kawhi Leonard or any combination of those two can do that for me, I'm probably going to try to do that, coupled with bringing back one of those salaries like a Zach LaVine or Jaylen Brown or something like that to just give me a little star power. But to be honest with you, I want to start the process of finding key star talent to play in the Intuit Center. That's what I want. That's what I want if I'm him. Because at the end of the day, I ain't doing this again with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. All they're going to do is come up short every single time. That's all they're going to do, man. That's all they're going to do. What you going to do? Go forward with Russell Westbrook? Don't give him a 4-year deal? You want to go Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, and Russell Westbrook for the next 4 years? That's the Intuit Center ceremony cut. I mean, come on, man. Not in a young league. Not when you have the pockets that Ballmer has and is probably willing to go higher in the luxury tax than anybody else. You know what I mean? Like, seriously. Build yourself something through the draft like the OKC and Orlando and Detroit and all these other teams. I don't know why the Clippers won't do that. I don't know why they won't do that. Because at the end of the day, there's nothing keeping them in terms of expectations doing what they're doing other than them looking at the Lakers and saying we got to keep up with the Lakers. And I'm telling you, that is absolutely. I'm a Laker fan. That is misguided, man. You're not even playing the same game as us. And I'm speaking as if I was on your side when I say this. That's not what we're aiming for. We're aiming to get our first championship, is what you say if you're a Clipper fan. We don't care about the Lakers. That's been the bane of everything that went wrong with the Blake Griffin era, and DeAndre Jordan era, and Chris Paul era. Yeah, we're worried about the Lakers and not worried about the field all the time. You leave yourself with no small forward for 5 years. Talking about you a contender. How? I'm sitting here watching this from afar laughing because I hate y'all. But it's like, what the hell are they doing? You watch this nonsense. And so this year is yet another version of that. And they decided to give away all kinds of young guys, bring in all kinds of old guys that ain't as good as they used to be. And they expect them to go out there with more old guys and assume to beat the Western Conference full of young teams. No, y'all, that's not how this works. Luckily enough, you got Russell Westbrook on $1 million contract, which is where he needs to be in order to be slotted properly on a championship caliber squad. But with Paul George going down, what are we looking at? You know what I mean? I like Norman Powell as much as the next guy. I think Norman Powell is one of the most talented players in the world. But he ain't never healthy enough to slot next to another wing like Paul George and Kawhi Leonard to just be doing some of the same stuff they do. It's just redundancy. You don't need that piece. You need a power forward. You need somebody that can do things that Blake Griffin used to do on top of what it is that you already have. So that you can move Paul George to the 3 or Kawhi Leonard to the 3. Because Paul George playing the 4, yeah, I guess he's getting older. I guess you do want him playing the 4. So, I don't know. But at the same time, I just want a more dynamic front court player next to Zubac helping him out. They need something like that, man. And so, I don't know. Like I said, I'm a Clipper hater to the fullest. But I just decided to put on my hat in regards to them because I'm looking at their situation. And I realized Paul George gone down with yet another injury. They're not going to have him for the playoffs. From what that looked like, I didn't do any homework on his injury. I just looked at it. That he's out. He's out. Hopefully I'm wrong. But now you're leaning on Kawhi Leonard's health. And then again, a bunch of old guys. It's like, why did they not empower Coffee? Why did they not empower some of these young guys that they had? What's up with Bones Highland? Is this development going well? How? You know what I'm saying? It's still early, but he needs to step forward and show that he's the guy that the Denver Nuggets drafted him to be. How's that going? You know what I mean? And so it's like Ty Lue is obviously an amazing coach, but you got him in a situation where the roster's not where it needs to be. I don't know, man. I don't know. I just think the Clippers are in no man's land, even though they think they're a contender. They're really not. They're going to run into a really, really solid team and just go, probably in the second round. And if you're comfortable with that, cool. Some teams is comfortable with that, but for me, it's like that shouldn't be the goal when you're trying to open that building in a couple of years. That should not be the goal to be cool. No, you want to have something exciting, state of the art, just like that damn building. That's what you want. Hell, I want all the young talent. I'm like that. For me, if I got a new building like that popping up, you're gonna have players that are of that type of thing. I want Scoot Henderson. I want Paolo Banchero. That's my thing. And then I'm opening the Intuit Center, and this is the house that they built. Brand new kids, brand new building. You know what I'm saying? That's how you do it, man. Fresh new team, fresh face, fresh building. Start over, man. And you got the money to do it. That's what I'm saying. You got the money to do it, and Kawhi's value is where it needs to be to get the most for him. That's the key to it. You can trade Kawhi back to Toronto and get some good stuff. Some real good stuff. And I'm pretty sure that Drake and them would be happy to take him back. They wouldn't think twice about it. So that's what I would do, man. And then take some of that stuff and trade it for picks if you don't get picks in that trade. I wouldn't even bring some of that stuff back. Immediately, I'm sending that stuff somewhere like OKC where they have nothing but picks. That's what I'm doing. OG Anunoby or something like that. You're joining OKC for 2 first-rounders or something like that. And that's how the Clippers would be able to replenish some of their future. That's how you do that, man. You get Kawhi, and then you would move PG, but if he's going to be hurt in the offseason, it's not going to be possible. But you definitely move Kawhi right now. You move Norman Powell while he's healthy, too, because he has a lot of value, I think. You can probably get a first-round pick for him, depending on who values him that high. That's a really talented player. So these are the type of things I do from the Clippers, man. Get in that draft. Grab one of the Thompson kids or something. Get that boy Miller or somebody. That's what you need starting off your process. So that's where I'm at, man. Just felt like being a little optimistic, or rather, objective is the word, about a different franchise. Because at the end of the day, all the teams out there kind of work the same way. They're facing similar stuff, and they are in different places in their timeline. And for me, the Clippers are at that place where it's like, you're there. You're there. It's time to say, and it's run its course. As soon as that knee bent back like that, that was it for me. That was it. It's like, that's it. We're done here. No championships. 5 years? You guys did great. Except for you didn't. So, as a Laker fan, I can say a lot. But at the end of the day, you didn't meet your expectations. So what? Time to start a new plan, because that one didn't work. So that's how that has to go, man. That's how that has to go. And stop measuring yourself based on what the Lakers' successes are. You never reach those, bro. Never. None of your lifetimes. Not happening. We have 17 NBA championships. You know how hard it is to get one? You don't even have one. 17 you will not reach. So trying to throw stones at us, we don't feel them. They're pebbles. They don't hurt at all. All of the different things that you guys are aiming for when you go walk away and celebrate because you've won games against us in the regular season, what you don't understand is they mean nothing to us. Those matter to you, Clippers. They don't matter to us. Those regular season games, you can get 9, 10, 11, 12 of those in a row. And you will celebrate. You know what happened when we beat you 12 times in a row? Nothing. We feel nothing. We're supposed to beat you every time. We always did. It's not us. It feels nothing. You know why? Because we're looking at a different team. You know what that team is? The Celtics. They won. They're our real rivals. You're just in the city. You're just here. That's it. You never even won anything while being here. You just sat here and threw stones at us that didn't hurt. So that's all it is, Clippers. You got to understand that, man. Stop looking at the Lakers. Stop. It's the worst thing you've done the whole time. As soon as you guys got relevant, the first thing you did is start thinking that you measured up to us. No one other than Blue Green measures up to us. No one. Not even Golden State. And you don't even come close to measuring up to them. But the funny thing is look how fast they became relevant. They ran up, 4 championships in 10 years? It can happen. You know who they weren't worried about? Us. The Golden State Warriors ain't worried about us, bro. You know who wasn't worried about us? Toronto. When they made the trade to get Kawhi Leonard, they weren't thinking about the Lakers. These are the things that I've been wanting to say to the Clippers the whole time, but just hate them too much to care. This is what it is. Stop trying to engage in a battle with a god when you barely measure up in human form. Barely. You ain't even down there with the Bulls and the Rockets and teams that have won a little bit. You've never won nothing. In fact, you embarrassed yourself. You embarrassed yourself for 40 years. And as soon as you made yourself relevant, the first thing you did was start throwing rocks at the throne. No. And then failed. And didn't even have the decency to win a championship in the process, but let us do it in the bubble. With this same core that you want to go forward with, that I'm telling you to stop going forward with, that's the same core. It's like, nah, man, this is running its course. And what you're aiming for has run its course. Stop trying to be rivals with us. Be rivals with the Kings. That's your peer. And you know what? They lighten up the beam. And we respect them for who they are. Not because they want to be rivals with us because they're trying to rival us in some weird way that's corny. No, because when they have a good team, they're going to come with respect and they're going to try to beat us, and that's it. They're going to put their cowbells up, and that's it. Y'all make it personal, and it's like, at the end of the day, we've accomplished way too much to even take y'all seriously. And because you guys are looking at us as the measuring stick for all things championship, you don't even understand the context from which real winning is supposed to be celebrated. You're aiming low, you're reaching low, and you think it's good. And it's not enough. It's not enough. Real success has nothing to do with beating us as if it comes to you. So that's what I got to say to the LA Clippers, man. That is my Clippers spiel. I want to throw a little bit of them into this video because at the end of the day, somebody needs to guide these teams. Somebody got to pull them away from being who it is that they've been for so long. And the Clippers have been so bad for so long, but they now have an owner in place that can do anything for them. but they haven't changed their mentality at all. And that don't make no sense. BDL 44. I thank you all for watching. I'm out.